Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a new episode of the X Button. I am one of your hosts, Alejandro, and with me is Solidus Paul
Paul
Edwards.
Edwards.
How you doing, Paul?
Hey guys. I'm doing well, Alejandro. We had some fun discussions recently, so I've been ripe with the hot takes and the interesting explanations
hmm
lately. We have some interesting stuff to talk about today, don't we?
Oh yeah, but more importantly, today is a very special day.
Yes, it is. Everyone, I want you to give Alejandro a lovely happy birthday because he has just turned how old?
28,
Yes,
two
welcome to the
away from
club.
30. Horrifying, terrifying, everything
Yeah.
you can think of. But I don't know. I'm happy. I made it another year. Especially this is my second birthday in the middle of a worldwide contagion. So
That's always a weird feeling.
yes,
I
think about that.
Yeah. It's weird. I've turned into a hermit. The older I've gotten, the less I like being around people.
hmm
But sometimes there are exceptions to that, and one of those is definitely birthdays. Because I used to do that and it would make me so depressed just having like me and myself and I.
hmm
So it's like I don't want to do any of the effort for it, but I want to be surrounded by people that kind of like me. So
Yes. Yeah, I'm doing that with my friends on Friday because, of course, my birthday had to come in a Monday. We're recording on a Monday now, so we're recording a day earlier
yes.
than we usually do because we have gotten into recording and posting the same day just to try to catch more news. But I think we have enough. I don't care if something else breaks right now, and then something
Yeah.
huge is gonna break. Who knows? It's
There's
it's
that
our
one thing
curse.
that's happening tomorrow,
Yes.
but I don't think we have to worry much about that.
Yeah. So plus next week is the big week anyway
Yeah.
with the Gamescom thing. So I think I could let go of trying to hit some of the bigger and bigger, more breaking stuff, and just enjoy being able to record on a birthday. So, Paul,
Absolutely.
what have you been playing?
It's a short one for me. I've been playing, I have a little system now. If I happen to play during the day, it's either Destiny 2 or recently, the very brief time of like Skyward Sword
Mm-hmm.
or anything else really, and then late at night is Disco Elysium, and I put like a couple hours in each day.
Yeah. No
And
more
that's been
updated thoughts on those
not
because we're
really.
yeah.
I've made progress in it, and just I guess one little thing about Disco Elysium is that it's interesting way of dangling things in front of your head, but not pushing you in any one direction.
Mm-hmm.
Where I thought I was really lost. I was starting to get frustrated, and then I realized how the game is supposed to play out, where you have this set of walls. Actually, let me overly simplify it. It is Spy Fox for adults. I don't know if you ever played any of those.
I've heard of them.
Um,
I've never played them.
okay, yeah, it's the same people that did like the Putt Putt and the Pajama Sam, any of your old classic point and click adventure games for kids. And it's
Mm-hmm.
basically that because you run around this area and you talk to people, and based on the way you've spoken, you've hit a wall. But it kind of keeps track, I found out in a menu where it says that you can do certain checks for dialogue,
Mm-hmm.
and if you fail it, because it gives you a percentage, you can go back each time you level up to give yourself another shot at breaking through that. So the gameplay loop is you talk to everybody you can, and then you get an idea of where all these barriers are,
Mm-hmm.
and then you go through rotating, trying it again to see if you break through that spot to more dialogue. And they're pretty generous with certain percentages, even if it was like 27%, and then like I got a green on it. And you can also save scum if you really want to, where you save, do the dialogue check, and then if it fails, reset. Sometimes it's not worth it, but if I really don't want to run around the whole city, I can do it again. So it's interesting that I'm understanding how they're teaching me this language and how this game is supposed to work. Um, and I'm enjoying it. It's very difficult, and it's not very not rewarding. It's not it doesn't hold my hand at all. So it's a challenging experience,
No
but I'm
combat,
glad
right?
I'm doing it. Yeah. No
Still,
combat at
yeah.
all. It's been entirely through like I've been able to commit violence, but it's all through dialogue. through like choosing to punch somebody or choosing to point the gun at a character, but then I still have a percentage of will this work out in my favor or will something just go horribly wrong? And each time I've tried to, it's gone horribly wrong. So it's not the best option. So yeah, that's what I've been doing and trying to not like look up guides to get the best option, but just like get my story
Are you
as I
like
do it.
me that if you eventually have to rely on a guide, you think less of the game? You get
I
annoyed that like,
do
yeah, I'm
usually.
like that. Like I get so demoralized if I'm like, I want to figure this out, and but then
Yeah.
if like I have to look at a guide, I'm like, I feel stupid,
Some
and
of them I'll give it to like for certain Resident Evil games, I will give it to the idea of if something is obtuse enough puzzle
wrong.
wise that it's going to take me forever, then I'm just going to go ahead and look up that specific little thing I need to push me to like not have the stopping of forward momentum. When
Mm-hmm.
I get that forward momentum just halted for 45 minutes and I'm
Mm-hmm.
like I'm wasting my time. Why could I could be doing something else.
That was me with every Zelda and Metroid when I was growing up,
Yeah.
all the time.
Which I had the disposable time for that at the time, but
Not
now I
anymore.
don't.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like if I hit something, I'll mess with it, I'll tinker with it. If I can understand the mechanics and be like, okay, I just need to get better at this, then I'll stick with it. Like you have your Uncharted puzzles usually are like
Those are
they
super
don't
easy.
nor
Sure,
yeah,
yeah.
I'll give it to you. They're easy, but they don't like I can still kind of mess with it and have fun with it. But then certain ones like the Resident Evil ones in the past, I've like I know I could, the Zeldas, I know I could, but then sometimes I'm just like I want to keep playing the game. I don't want to hate myself.
Yeah.
So,
Resident Evil 1,
yeah.
the original one, is the only one I haven't been able to beat by myself. I needed a guide. That one is
Yeah.
super obtuse. That one is like the most adventure like game. Like, it was like one dev away from a point and click game that kind of super mystery with the Spencer Mansion. That's
It
the only
really
one.
does feel like a point and click adventure at times.
Especially with the movement, the tank controls, the fixed cameras, and all that. That's why, like, even though I did a guide for that, I still hold that game in high regard because we don't get games like that anymore in that genre because that genre has like evolved more,
Hmm.
especially with that series. So
Definitely.
yeah, I've been like wanting to. I have it downloaded it on my PS5, and I want to try and see if I can actually finish it without a guide. Just having like a recollection of like maybe I remember this. Let's see if I can do this now. So
That actually does help a lot if I'm going back to a game I played a long time ago.
mm-hmm.
The vague memory usually gives me enough to keep the forward momentum going until I figure out the rest. So going back to games like Resident Evil and will y'all shut up? I got my cats fighting in the background.
What's he
They're just
fighting with? With another
they're
cat?
just they're yeah, I have two cats and they'll wrestle when they get bored with each other.
Oh
And
no.
it's usually one of them in an intimidating way rushing up at the other one and
It must be a
tackling him.
it must be a case of the Mondays, right?
It is. Yeah, they need some lasagna. So, yeah, that's that's what I've been doing and getting ready for the new season of Destiny 2 just so I'm
Next
like kind
week.
of doing some housekeeping to clean up everything that I haven't done yet that I want to
Did you
do.
do the epilogue mission?
I did. Yeah, that was the first thing I did.
Yeah, it was super cool.
Um,
That was
that was
yes.
interesting because Osiris was out there skulking
Mm-hmm.
and Lakshmi got
Killed.
just roasted, and that was
Did you
nice
see? Did you
because
see her body like lying when
I
you
didn't
started the
see it in
mission? It's like
gameplay. I heard from the dialogue. I was like, oh, okay, I guess she died, and then I watched like a video that explained it, and I was like, oh, okay, I didn't see that at all.
yeah, it was blink and your miss. It's like when you log in into that mission with your team, it's like Lakshmi's just there before you go
Wow.
into like the battlefield. So I did that with my friend Josh because he had not done that mission. So I was like, I'll do that with you. And then I got to see her because I had read by the article by Paul Tassi, who writes from Forbes, who's
Hmm.
featured me a couple times there. That's where I found out that her body was there. I was like, I'll go back and see, and yeah, it was right there.
Yeah,
That's cool. They've
I'm
gotten
glad
better
they
at
didn't draw that out.
storytelling. Yeah, I'm glad that Bungie's getting better at like on in-game storytelling. That's just like visual. that they didn't used to do. That was
I have
everything was
liked that as
outside.
well.
So
They had a very abstract way of explaining things, and I didn't
especially in
really
the one,
appreciate
yeah,
that as much. Well, so I like the idea that they didn't explain everything, and it was kind of left to us to like figure out some details. But the extent they did, where like they had immensely important lore and like cards on their website,
yeah, it was bad. That's
that's dumb.
bad. Yeah, because it's like not in
Um,
the game. You have to like go to like a freaking
no,
website to read that. You want all of
that's
that in the
different.
game.
And then like then you have your Dark Souls kind of lore where it's
Mm-hmm.
like you can dig and you can find stuff, but it's also your mileage may vary. Where
Mm-hmm.
like if you don't want to, you don't have to. And for me, it's like, all right, space wizards, there's aliens, let's clap some cheeks. And that's really all I need. But then sometimes if I'm like, hey, you know what? Who are these people? Then I can go watch one of those people doing a video essay that explains it all, and I'm like, oh, this is nice, but it's usually I don't want both at the same time, and that's weird for me.
Yeah. So, and we'll find out more about Destiny 2 next week. I
Yes.
know some stuff about Osiris. I don't want to tell you anything because they might say something next week with what's
Okay.
happening in Osiris because some things got data mined and you can kind of like go Pepe Sylvia and connect the red strings and about like some of the things that are leaked and some of the things that are shown there and kind of get an idea of where the story of Destiny 2 is going. So I'm not gonna say anything. I'll leave you for the reveal for next week on the
All right.
24th.
I'll at
So
least one thing is the story I haven't been spoiled on, but at least like I know what they're doing as far as like tweaks and adjustments, but that's like not a big deal. So anyway, Alejandro, what are you playing?
I've still been playing old games because there's nothing coming out. Though by the way, do you know what comes out this Friday, right?
The director's cut of Ghost of Tsushima.
Yes. So
I'm looking forward to it. Yeah.
yeah. This is kind of a big week for releases for me because the day that we post this episode, the Avengers War for Wakanda expansion comes out. That's completely
That's
free.
right.
So I'm gonna be diving into that. I may be streaming it. Yeah, because I need to, because I've been waiting for like new stuff to stream. I don't like streaming old stuff, so I kind of want to ride the wave of new stuff. So War for Wakanda is coming out on the 17th. Then Ghost of Ikishima is finally coming on Friday. And remember, wait until Friday to get
Right.
the upgrade because if you buy right now, you're gonna pay full price for the director's cut. So same thing
I'm really
happened
looking
with
forward to it.
Final Fantasy. You had to wait until the day that thing came out to do the
That
upgrade.
was really
I
weird.
I don't
Yeah.
know why you can't just buy the upgrade now. Are they just like tricking people into like just trying to
I
like the
see
people
it
that don't know
as
as
less effort, and just like you're saying, is you get people that are so excited they don't realize that it's going to be a very different price when it actually comes out.
mm-hmm,
So they're like, hey, if somebody wants to spend 70 bucks, it's on them. And like, I get it on one hand, but if you don't have your thumb to the pulse of all this, you
mm-hmm.
don't know that. And that's kind of not on a consumer, I would say, as much as like they should present all of your options.
Exactly, yeah, especially because, like you said, it's like not everyone's in tune to Twitter, not everyone's in tune to what you call it, be reading the PlayStation blog and reading all the explanation. There's so many
Yeah.
people that are as layman as it comes. So
I mean, just look at your sales of Last of Us 2. There was
mm-hmm,
people that didn't know anything about it. They just heard chatter,
mm-hmm.
and then they said, "Let me check this out myself." And that was like their one game they bought
And that
every
thing's
like
still
six
so
months or a
huge.
year. And it was actually that's something I was gearing up to play again recently
Mm-hmm,
because I watched a video about the details of the gunplay.
mm-hmm,
And they had like some ex-Marine people talking about like the workbench scenes and what they actually are doing to each gun to improve it in a realistic standpoint. And I thought that was really cool because they'll talk about having your recoil compensators and what that actually does to the gun and why you would do it for this gun. And like, oh, they did this one little thing. All you need is a flathead screwdriver for this kind of gun, and that's what she's using right here. And it's like, because they did a lot of work in that, and it's something that you don't even really see
mm-hmm.
if you're not paying attention to.
Exactly.
So,
Especially that
yeah,
game that improved like if you can say that Last of Us Part 2 improved something significantly over the first one was the gunplay. And
yeah.
like how everything the gunplay felt like the way everything was designed. Just you'd miss that detail better like from when you're in the workbench in The Last of Us 2 and seeing her like Ellie or Abby modifying your gun when you're like getting the upgrades and all that. There's just so much detail that went into the
Tiny,
physics,
tiny
everything.
details.
That's just like why Naughty Dog games recently take so long now, because they obsess over so many things that people sometimes don't even care. But that's what makes their game special from a production quality perspective. So
Absolutely. So yeah, that was just one thing that made me want to go back and replay the game from the start, just because it was like, man, I really did have fun with those guns, didn't
mhm.
I?
And remember,
So yeah,
Factions is still coming, so you may be
I
able to
do
have
we
fun with
have
those
any
guns.
like days on that? Okay,
Maybe
I
whenever
just,
Sony decides to finally open their mouths because they have been
bruh.
shut quiet recently. So yeah, what I've been playing. So as I wait for this new stuff coming out this week, I've still been playing old stuff. I finished the first Assassin's Creed recently, so that's a game that I still think is so special. In even with its flaws,
Mm,
like I just I've been kind of like in this nostalgia kick, which is fitting since I got older today, and just kind of like, you know how sometimes you can transport yourself to when you first played this,
yep.
and that first game, just remembering back in '07 playing it, and that was like one of the first times that I was like, this is next gen. This is the kind of game that obviously there were open worlds and all that, but the things that they designed with this game was couldn't be done in the preview in like the PS2 or an Xbox, where everything that you could see as a crevice, the world was so intricately designed for you to climb everything, to feel like you're part. The world is part of the character of your character, and it's so, how can I say this? It's like it's so trite now. Like that's so commonplace. And even in
Hmm.
games like Breath of the Wild, that now you can climb everything because Link is like a gecko. But you forget, like how important, like what Assassin's Creed did with its engine to allow a world that feels alive because you can climb it everywhere, but climb it in the things that make sense. The recent Assassin's Creed games kind of have gotten away from you finding the specific crevice to climb. It feels like you can climb everything.
Hmm.
So yeah, remembering that, and also the story and just how serious it takes itself. Like I mentioned it last week that yeah, that's a game that loves the sound of its own voice, but I think it's kind of charming in a way that it's that it takes its self-serious assassination story so like they don't wink, they don't like laugh at them. It's like they just embrace it, and then it just completely batshit insane in the end. It was so funny. Like we were talking in our text chats how that game goes like super occult really quick. It goes like
Right?
this: like you go from like a final boss fight where you have Richard the Lionheart saying that this boss fight is gonna be decided by kind of like by the will of God. I was like, oh, that's cool that they mentioned that. It's like God's gonna be in favor of who wins here. And then literally a few minutes later, you go to Al Molim saying things like wine, the water turning to wine, and the split sea never happened. Like huge heresy
Yeah.
because of the piece of Eden. And then on top of that, you go back to Abstergo when you finally finish it, and you get the bleeding effect, and the first thing you see is the satanic pentagram, kind of like painted there. So it goes from
Yeah.
that. It goes from God is gonna do this to all of that like real quick. So
And I don't think it takes its foot off that gas for a
no,
very long time. They clown on religion so
so hard. Yeah.
heavily in several of those games until finally coming to this idea of like, guys, we swear ancient aliens are real.
Mm-hmm.
The Greek
The East,
gods were
yeah,
totally real,
yeah. It's
and we just are living in their world they created for us. And I was like, where did we come from this
from
whole
this, yeah.
thing? And I remember so vividly, like there was discussion groups using the whole like nothing is true, everything is
Mm-hmm.
permitted as like actual dogma for agnosticism and stuff. It was like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, they got it so right. Like religion is just a scam, man. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
oh,
Yeah,
that
it's
was a
really
weird
yeah
time to live in.
it really was, especially getting to relive that because that is not as common in the later Assassin's Creed games after the Desmond saga got wrapped.
They've kind
But
of chilled out with that, yeah.
yeah, but I think ironically that's what made that series even more intriguing because it's like, where is this going? Because nothing is like out of bounds here now. Like you're touching on everything.
That is
So,
true.
and then we knew that the series became a sci-fi thing somehow. So, yeah, I said that I wanted to replay all the Assassin's Creed games. Last week I think I said that when I was playing this because I
Yeah.
want to do stuff for the website that will be SEO an SEO friendly farm. Because what are some of the articles that are so popular over time?
Yeah.
When you rank, you make lists. So yeah, I kind of want to grow the website, so I'm gonna make a list of like trying to rank the games, but I want to do them like from having played them right now, just not my memory. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna do that for Assassin's Creed, and also I'm gonna do that for Call of Duty because I was also playing Call of Duty, the original Modern Warfare. That after I did the 2019 one, I was like, I want to go back. Kind of like what I was saying, like, yeah, being the biggest hypocrite, saying I'm not gonna touch the series, but you made the point. It's like what came before is what came before, so that's like fair game. It's not just what coming
Yeah.
next, which we'll talk about later. So I also played Call of Duty for Modern Warfare, the 360 version. So I know there's the remastered, but from the option of having to download an 80 gigabyte Modern Warfare remastered, or a 7 gigabyte 360 version on Xbox One backwards compatibility, that still looks good. Of course, I'm gonna go the
Yeah.
7 gig route.
I
So
don't even know if how much really changed between the two because
it
the
changes.
color filters were so heavy in that
Mm-hmm.
that I had moments. I mean, like you've got your up res and your frame rate, but I feel like the fundamentals are still
It's
there.
still the same game. It's like the
Yeah,
thing is that the Modern Warfare remaster makes you look at the game as it helps you think that that's how it looked, even though it
yes.
looks bad. Like when you actually go back, it's like, oh
Hmm.
yeah, this is a little bit more data. But even then, as a 360 game, I was like, this still holds up. It has like a very specific art style to it that is also realistic. It's not as muted as the 2019 one. That is a super drab because it went super
Yeah.
realistic.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's like that game still holds up. I still think how that's why another one of those seminal games. Like Call of Duty became big because of that game. That game was a game changer. It's like the same way the original Halo was a game changer in 2001 and how it
Oh yeah.
modernized shooters in a console, because before that shooters could only work with PC, like mouse and keyboard. There no one could figure out how to properly make a functioning first person shooter on a gamepad. And Halo did that. Then Modern Warfare took that to the next level with like intensity. It's like I'm having a brain fart right now. I texted you. It's like, do you remember back in the day, the SOCOMs, the Rainbow Sixes,
Yeah.
the Ghost Recons, like modern shooters were like super slow, super like precision, emphasize a lot of precision. It's like the controls were like the most confusing thing in the world. And then when Call of Duty in the World War II Call of Duties came out, it's like the intensity was so high, the controllers were super buttery smooth. By the time they moved to Modern Warfare, that was like big. It was like, oh my god, we're getting a modern shooter like that has the pace of the World War II Call of Duties that Infinity Ward had,
Hmm.
and you go there and see that level of intensity, and they took the it's dated now, but the visuals back then, that was like impressive. The amount of detail, the amount of particle effects, the amount of explosions, how relentless Modern Warfare was in making you feel like you were in hell, basically in the hell of warfare. So that still holds up. I even said that it's like even after playing the Modern Warfare 2019 campaign, the 2001, the 2007 one is so much better. Still so much better. The missions are so memorable. It has like it knows when to go quiet. It knows when to go big. The Modern
Hmm.
Warfare 2019 one knew how to be quiet. They didn't know how to go big because they went so realistic, which it has its merits, but to me it's not as fun because
Yeah.
especially in a story as pretentious and reckless as the one in 2019 versus the one in 2007 that had some controversial moments and had some mess up, but they were not pretentious about it. They just were.
Yeah.
They weren't like, look what we're doing here. So
It was just, all right, here's a mission, and then it was up to you to realize the significance of it more
mm-hmm,
so. Which, before we move on, I do want supplemental listening for anybody that is watching or listening. I suggest looking up Modern Military Shooters Before Modern Warfare by
mm-hmm,
Racefic. It is a really good visual encyclopedia of games that came out just before that stage, where things got very clean cut, and where Call of Duty, of course, started a new
mm-hmm.
renaissance. We got to see so many different approaches to the first person experience, and none of them were similar at all because there was no benchmark for what should be done. So, just like you said with Halo, that is a good kind of example of seeing some games that came out just before Call of Duty,
Hmm.
Modern Warfare specifically, that give us a little showing in that. So yeah,
Yes.
anything else you've been playing? Well, actually, yeah, you have been playing a little something that we were talking about.
Yes, I also because it was yesterday. It was the last day. I was like, "This is my last day as a 27-year-old. I'm feeling hella nostalgic. What do I want to play right now? The original Metal Gear Solid, the PS1 version of Metal Gear Solid that I still have as a digital copy on my PS3, and I played that game front to back yesterday, all the way until before midnight hit, and I felt things fall. It's a Metal Gear. There is such a special series. There's like, obviously we've been talking about Kojima shenanigans recently with Blue Balls Game Studios, and we're gonna talk. I have some things to say about that later in
We're
the
gonna get
show.
to that.
Later in the show, but it makes me think: why is like there's something about this man that elicits a certain kind of emotion that would have people go down these rabbit holes because his games are so special.
That man
That
being Kojima.
Kojima, yeah, and that's why like everyone just wants a Kojima game because no other game elicits the kind of emotions that a Kojima game gives you. Like I like just thinking about how I again transporting myself to when I first played it, when I first rented Metal Gear Solid back in 1998 from my Blockbuster, and that was the first game that I saw that took itself so seriously in being a cinematic action game. It was the first game that cared about production value. Before that, is like stories didn't really matter. They were either just text or you were just in first person. They didn't care about camera cuts. They didn't care about like mixing everything with an arousing score. Just the song that always plays in Metal Gear that has kind of like an angelic voice that happens with all the emotional moments in that game always hit, and they still hit till this day. The sniper wall of death, like how like just the dialogue, everything. It's like I always get like chills down my spine, like seeing that moment play out. How epic, like fighting the original Metal Gear Rex and the final escape from that game. It's just that series is special. That's another one that I'm gonna play all the games again, like in between when we're getting all this new stuff to come out because we're it's looking pretty grim with new releases in 2021. I tell you that it's like very very grim, but yeah, it's like I now I realize that yeah, it's like why I put so much effort in mind trickery into what's been happening with this abandoned shenanigans is because I remember even when Death Stranding was announced, just like Death Stranding was one of like my most anticipated games of the entire generation. That was that it had that game had that kind of weight to me. It's like some of those games that that just by being announced they have a certain aura and gravity to them. That's
Hmm.
Kojima's games. That's why I was with Metal Gear Solid 5 back in 2015 when this was announced, and then when it came out in 2019. Obviously, Death Stranding I would argue is not probably his best game, but it's still very special in being very different in AAA standards. And just going back to this MGS from PS1, he always has had that. And I remember just that carrying to Metal Gear Solid 2. And Kojima's the one that basically popularized audience contempt by the trickery of switching
Hmm.
characters with MGS2. Like the depth of stealth that came in with Metal Gear Solid 3, the fan service bonanza that is Metal Gear Solid 4. Like Metal Gear Solid 4 was the original Avengers Endgame for everyone that cared about following a story, kind of like deliver a rousing conclusion. It's like Metal Gear Solid 4 hasn't been topped in the video game world for me like that. Like maybe Uncharted 4 is the one that got the closest, but I feel it doesn't
At
have the
least in the
way.
modern
Yeah, in the modern age,
context.
but even then, like Uncharted 4 pales in comparison to how like Metal Gear Solid 4 elicits a certain kind of emotion by bringing everything together. Obviously, in
Yeah,
a very wordy Kojima way, like that game had like 40-minute cutscenes sometimes. But it's like if you
I'll
really
give it that.
if you love that stuff, it's like Metal Gear Solid 4 did that, and I can't wait to make my way through that. As I also make my way through the Assassin's Creeds and I make my way through the Call of Duties. I'm gonna be writing because I want to be playing all these three things at once, so I don't burn out just playing one at a time. Like if I'm getting tired as I make my way to making this list of where I'm gonna rank, I'm gonna switch to another series. Okay, I'm gonna switch to another one and go like that. And I can't wait for just to hear what Kojima's doing next. Whether it's the
Yeah.
stupidity that's happening or not, I just want to hear what's next for him. Obviously, we're getting the director's cut of Death Stranding in a month, so
If I had to choose something that I could pick Kojima to do, and obviously barring somehow gaining the rights to Metal Gear Solid,
Hmm.
if he could go back to that pseudo military style, to have like a Metal Gear Solid adjacent series that's
Hmm.
clearly not and is not actionable in any way, but uses the themes and uses the techniques that he had. Um, and I know that would be just a nightmare of copyright, but
Yeah. Do you
I
remember
wish.
the Death Stranding director's cut trailer that Jeff Keighley revealed? That was basically Metal Gear without being Metal Gear. It had the exact same sound vibes as Shadow Moses. It had the exact same kind of like walking pattern of the soldiers as Shadow Moses. It has like the look of Shadow Moses within Death Stranding. He
I
knows
don't
how
know
to.
if I saw that.
Yeah, you have to see that trailer then because that's like, and then Sam Porter
Was it like
Bridge
a
is.
new area? Is that
Yeah, it
what it
was a
was?
new area that was not in the original Death Stranding. And then he grabbed the box that's fragile, and then he puts it, and then he jumps into the box, and then he just gets out and puts the box back, and being like, "Oh, is he really doing the hiding in the box thing of Metal Gear?" It's like it had
Yeah, I need
everything.
that.
It had the ducts where you like crawl in Shadow Moses. You see rats also. It's like it had all. It was basically calling for a copyright strike. Basically, it's
Let me see this. I'm kind of going through it because I clearly didn't remember that at all. Because it was mostly kind of the same stuff that I've been seeing.
But that's the thing. The trailer from Jeff Keighley thing from E3 was not things that Death Stranding had.
Okay, so well, I of course the firing range. There was like a
No, 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 no,
turret.
no, no, no. You're watching the State of Play thing. You have to look at the trailer from E3, like the opening night live trailer. That's the one that had very overt Metal Gear references,
Let's
like
see, E3
super.
2021 director's cut. Okay, so this is it. Hopefully.
It has to be
Oh
opening night live.
wow. Oh shoot. Yeah, this was not what I've seen. It's like a whole, yeah,
Isn't
it's like
it?
a Metal Gear Solid warehouse
Uh huh.
with like the bodies in it and everything.
Yeah, look at the way, like just the way it's shot and
Oh
framed.
my
It's like
goodness.
I feel bad for like the Super Metal Gear fans. If you see Kojima doing this, I feel bad for the blue balls he's giving these people doing that kind of
I mean,
tease.
I feel like a lot of that is just he's having a little fun with it.
Oh yeah, he that's him. Yes.
I wonder how much that's gonna actually be in it or if that's just like him being cheeky.
Who knows? But that's
What do
the
you
thing.
think?
Like, I could see that being in the game because it's the director's cut, so he obviously added new stuff. Remember, there's new missions in this thing.
Mm,
Obviously, apart from
that's
like the
true.
firing range, the catapult thing. So he's adding enough to justify you paying an extra $10 for this upgrade, which to
Yeah.
me it's reasonable for all the things that they're adding and some extra quality of life to combat and all of that. And I kind of feel the same way that Igarashi did with Bloodstained Ritual of the Night.
Yeah.
He did Castlevania. Konami's not
Right.
doing Castlevania. He created Castlevania Symphony of the Night. So do a Symphony of the Night like game, but just not be in that series, but it's the essence. So he could do
That's what
that.
I would wish. Yeah, like if they could bring it forth a little further. One thing that messes with me a lot is because Norman Reedus is so clearly just Norman Reedus.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see Sam Porter Bridges. I just see Norman
Norman
Reedus
Reedus,
doing
yeah.
weird stuff. So that's one thing I kind of wish they hadn't done. Like
Mm-hmm.
if they could have made a character and then had him play it or voice it like Solid Snake, like you or Big Boss rather.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you can get that iconic look rather than just like, oh, is this random dude
Yeah,
like
that's what was impressive about Metal Gear. Is like they took the art from Joji Shinkawa, they recreated it in 3D, and then had people voice them,
which is still
and
some of the greatest art I have ever seen.
still
And
holds up. The Joji
it, it
Shinkawa art from MGS1 still holds up so well.
it,
It's so
it makes
iconic.
me want to play what was the really dumb game that they did the
Left
art
Alive,
for?
Left Alive.
Left Alive. It actually made me want to consider it because of how good that art was again.
It
And
it
and
is a horrible
uh
game.
it is. And they did a art piece for Last of Us 2. I don't know if you saw that
Yeah,
ever. I think we
for the
talked about it
anniversary. Yeah,
actually.
for the one
That
year
was
anniversary, he did one. Yes,
fantastic. I
Joey
just
Shinkawa was the greatest art designer. Like, this,
I
its
could
art is so
just
iconic. I could get all that art and print it all over my room. It's like it's so like it has a very special style to it. Like, I don't know how to describe it.
it is the perfect blending of chaotic ink,
Mhm.
and there is not a single line that is wasted because every line covers the silhouette, the exact line, the exact depth that you need from the perspective. But there's whole parts of it that like won't have a line where like their leg is or something because that's not where they want you to focus on. It is so perfectly done from a composition standpoint that I I love it.
Oh yes, and obviously whatever Kojima does next, he always works with Joey Shinkawa. And every single game that he's worked on, Joey Shinkawa has always been with him, like to the hip. So
Hmm.
Death Stranding, obviously he did that because for a while after Metal Gear, he had constantly said, "I'm done with Metal Gear. I'm done with Metal Gear," and then he always did another game while he
Yeah.
was at Konami because it was one of Konami's biggest series. So him doing Death Stranding, he tried to do something as completely different as possible that came from a place of hurt for him because the Konami breakup was big. Everyone knew
Big.
about it. It was like,
Absolutely.
and we got to see the results of that with Metal Gear Solid 5 being basically unfinished. And so there was a certain melancholy to Death Stranding that then became very prophetic with what happened to the world literally less than a year later, with the need for connection and the distancing that we had to suffer over this pandemic and all that. So there's just something about him. I don't know. And the thing is that he managed to be all self-serious about it and be so cheeky at the same time. No one does it like him. So,
Oh.
and whatever he announces next, whenever that happens, I'm gonna be very excited. So, Paul, enough of that. We got a couple news to talk about. So press X.
For some news.
All right, Paul. So we got a few, but I don't think we're gonna take too long with this because I definitely want to get to the last one. So
Yeah.
So yeah, we so over the last few weeks, with the exception of last week, we have been talking about how Activision Blizzard has been embroiled in the litigation by the state of California. Well, the lawsuit nightmare continues. In the midst of what appears to be a cleaning house beheading happening at the Blizzard side of the company that started with the ouster of President J. Allen Brack, who we mentioned 2 episodes ago, IGN confirmed via its sources that Blizzard has also now ousted the director of Diablo 4, Luis Barriga, which is in. I'll just say this. So, like, Barriga is like belly that we get here in El Salvador. So, I just find funny that's
Really?
yes, that's his last name, but yeah. Moving from that, lead level designer
Huh.
Jesse McCree and World of Warcraft designer Jonathan LeCraft. So, those three, they're out. Two of these men in particular, I think it's Barriga and McCree, were recently seen in a picture uncovered by Kotaku where they were hanging out amongst other Blizzard execs in the ill-named Cosby suit, which is named after the controversial Bill Cosby, where apparently lots of heinous stuff happened. Of course, heinous stuff were going to happen in something called the Cosby suit. Of course, they're going to name something about towards a guy that then we found out years later that was a huge sexual assaulter or something like that. And I mean, he got arrested. So
Hmm.
all these ousters are interesting in light of Activision and Blizzard's initial response. Do you remember what they responded, Paul, to the lawsuit?
Um, uh, didn't they say like hardly anything? It was
They
like a very tone deaf kind of
Yeah,
statement.
basically what they said was like in the initial response was like the state of California is out to get us here. They don't care about DR. They're mischaracterizing the working environment of the company.
Mm.
Well, you said that, and now you're basically beheading a lot of heads right now. Like, that looks bad in the law because if this goes to court, like, you're basically confirming the lawsuit by doing that, right?
Yeah.
By negating it and then taking action. So it's like, so you're obviously lying. That doesn't look good. So that'll be interesting if it goes to court. Also, doubly interesting is that one of the Overwatch characters, the cowboy character, is named directly after Jesse McCree. So it will be interesting to see how soon before they rename the character after the tainted allegation. So Both Overwatch 2 and Diablo 4 are super important releases for Blizzard as a company after the Activision side has exerted more control over the company following the departure of founder Mike Morhaime in 2018. And Activision has been forcing their hand that they have to release more games in less dev time. Do you know the last game that Blizzard released was Overwatch, Paul? In
That was
2016?
the last game they.
Yes, the
Huh.
last full game that they released. Blizzard always takes forever to release games, but
Yeah.
they don't bring in as much money because they used to be like when Overwatch came out, that was big. Everyone was talking about Overwatch. They were making billions of dollars with loot boxes and all that. Then the loot
Does that mean
box,
Hearthstone came out before
yes,
Overwatch?
yes,
What the
Hearthstone was
heck?
2014.
I
Yeah,
could have sworn that was after. Okay.
no, so yeah, so they've been telling them you got to release more games. We'll talk about another company that has had that same mandate. Um, so in the midst of them saying we got to release more games, now they oust the director of Diablo 4, which is arguably their more important release. So
Mhm.
that game's not coming out anytime soon. So,
Yeah.
but on the other hand, it's good to see that they're actually cutting people like out that were seen to be like toxic that were named after the investigation because these are names that were named. These are names came up in the lawsuit, so they came in.
What do you think is if you were in charge and you found out all of this was happening, what do you think is like the best course of action?
So
And do you
immediately,
think this is it?
so yeah, that's the thing. Like the action is proper. You have to oust them. The big question right now is that they have to find out like have the people in the top always known that there were always problems with these people because that's kind of like the thing that this lawsuit is emphasizing that HR basically failed the people that went to file the complaints about the harassment and all of that, and it shouldn't have taken until everything going public for them to start like ousting these people, but this is the move to make. If these people are problematic, get out of here. Like what I wouldn't have done was answer the lawsuit, be like they're mischaracterizing, blah blah blah, trying to play the victim, and then do
Yeah.
this because then obviously you know that the lawsuit is correct, basically. So man, it's like Activision Blizzard has been such a mess. They kind of got quiet last week, but then all of this happened, and I bet you it's going to still haunt them even with things coming up. Like number two, the next Call of Duty has officially leaked. Titled Call of Duty Vanguard, according to the art assets that were leaked, the rumors that had been mounting for a while seems to have confirmed that the new installment to the long-running franchise, Paul, this franchise has been going for 16 years
My goodness.
and more, actually 17 because it actually came out in 2003, is going back to the World War II setting. Wah wah. The rumors also mentioned that the Sledgehammer production was supposed to be an alternate reality World War II setting in the vein of the Wolfenstein games for Machine Games, where
Hmm.
World War II kept going past 1945. We still don't know when Activision Blizzard will officially pull the curtain on this game. Remember, they're still in the middle of all this litigation mess. But a cheeky tweet from the Call of Duty Twitter account suggests that they may officially do it soon since the rumor is out. That tweet was funny. Did you see it? It was like they put like they put a 5 second tease where they move and there's like airplanes coming and they had like text photoshopped and be like leaks out, leaks out, leaks out, something like that. So it's like okay, you're at least having fun with it. So what do you think about this Call of Duty Vanguard?
I would hope that it lines up with what people are saying in the vein of
Wolfenstein.
it's an alternate reality, like, 'cause I could get with that. I would think that there's not a whole lot of any alternate history stuff left at this
Hmm.
point.
Or more like
It's
real life history, you mean?
right.
Yeah,
Well,
so
no, no, like there's enough real life history World War II games going
hmm
on. I mean, if you even just take the curtain away from console and go the PC route, you've got Hell Let Loose. You've
hmm
got your uh, no, Enlisted was PS5 and PC.
hmm
You've got a few others that I can't think of off the top of my head, but like it's a fairly saturated market at this point. So what do you do to move forward outside of go to another war is that you make an alternate history version. And I think that World War II has enough stuff going in it that you can make some crazy stuff go down that you normally couldn't. And then if you do an alternate history, then you're no longer bound by the requirements of the guns at that time,
Mm-hmm.
and you can throw whatever you want on there. And I mean,
Or
that's
modify
what,
the weapons,
right.
modify them, yeah, make them weirder.
And that's what Battlefield 5 had tried to do, but they did not go about it the right way.
Mm-hmm.
They very much tried to skirt this weird line
Mm-hmm.
of hey, it's like a really crazy wild time, jump on in for the fun, guys.
Mm-hmm.
We've got this lady with one arm and
Well,
all
robotic
sorts of
arm
crazy
in
stuff.
one robotic arm was supposed to not be alternate history. This is supposed to be like real World War II.
Well, that was the tricky part because it had like a Bad Company feel to it, and it was like, all right, well, we're gonna have some fun with it because there's like a dude running around with a samurai
Mm-hmm.
sword on his back. Like they clearly weren't going for full historical accuracy, but due to the backlash, they cut all of the cosmetics that were supposed to be in there. That's why if at this point I mean, so they've caught up now, but at the time there was like two cosmetics that they had in the game because they had to cut everything else that they had already designed.
Mm-hmm.
And now, only now, you can buy those, of course, for real money. You can't unlock any of that stuff in the game, which is really frustrating. But of course, being all of the really cool cosmetics, but if we have like a alternate history game with Vanguard, I think it's perfectly right with possibility. And I mean, you saw a Wolfenstein. You don't have to go at all with what's actually even close to
Reality?
accurate
No, not at all.
because you've got your mechas, you've got your crazy robot dogs, you've got just like if you break it down even just to the weaponry, and I get it, like Wolfenstein technically takes place, I think, in the 60s now,
Mm-hmm.
but even the 40s flashback scene, or the prologue rather, it had just like the tiniest hint of this was in World War II, but it's also like crazy dialed up to Nazi science or something. And I think that's really cool, and a very interesting possibility. So yeah, that's I digress on the rest of it.
Yeah, it's like when you mentioned Battlefield 5, and I just remember that was one of the most botched reveals in gaming history. Like not being able to properly convey what they wanted to do with that game. They saw that Battlefield 1 worked so well, but that was a World War One game, so they went
Yeah,
back to World War Two. And the thing is that because World War Two as a genre was so oversaturated back before the original Modern Warfare days, there's a reason why everyone left World War Two for a while, because it got saturated into oblivion with your Medal of Honors, your Company of Heroes, your different genres that are over encompass World War Two. That then when Call of Duty went back to World War Two in 2017, by the help of market research that told them that people were just sick of being in the future, because that was the first time that Call of Duty remained in one specific style of game like 3 years in a row. It always had been like
yeah,
alternating, like the Modern Warfare and Black Ops era. Black Ops being like more of a 1960s, 1970s, 1980s kind of game, and two dabbling a little bit in the future, but not quite. And then Modern Warfare being Modern Warfare. That then when they got to Advanced Warfare, Black Ops 3 and Infinite Warfare, it was like, we're in a futuristic setting and we're just getting farther and farther more futuristic. Enough.
yeah.
That's 3 years in a row. We need something. So in their service, we're like, would you like to go to World War II? And people were like, yes, let's go back to that. And they came out, that game sold, but got quickly forgotten, because
Hmm.
people were like, yeah, this is like World War II's played out. How many more times can we see D-Day? How many other times can we see Operation Market Garden? How many times can we see all of that? So them going back to World War II again with Sledgehammer, I feel bad for them, because they're the ones that came out swinging with Advanced Warfare, and they wanted to do Advanced Warfare too. That was in the
Yeah,
design doc, but then they were forced to do World War II because Treyarch and Infinity War did a futuristic game also, so no one wanted it. So
yeah.
they got saddled with World War II, a game that they didn't want to make. And actually, the founders of that studio, which were the Dead Space guys, Glenn Schofield and Michael Condrey, they left after that one.
Huh.
And then Glenn Schofield went to do his new studio that he's doing the Dead Space kind of game, the Callisto Protocol,
Right.
that we saw a few episodes back in like our E3. I remember telling you about that one.
Hmm.
And now them going back to this, like the only way this could even remotely work is if they actually like these rumors pan out and they go full on alternate reality. It's like it like forget the story of World War II, like just keep doing your weird thing there. That's the only thing that would make that thing work for me. And also another thing that would work is if they actually use the Modern Warfare 2019 engine, which allegedly they're using,
Yes,
because
that would be great.
Black Ops Cold War suffers for not using that technology.
Mhm.
It feels ancient, even though the campaign looks pretty. When you go to multiplayer, it's like oof, no, big no. So
It really does give lend to the importance of good lighting,
mhm,
where you get this volumetric idea of where your character is in the space that they're standing in, to the point that it convinced me to play Modern Warfare multiplayer for the whole amount of time that that was the thing. It was like,
mhm.
I think, 2 years worth.
2019.
And then I tried playing Cold War and got burnt out again because it lost the one thing that I really loved
Hmm.
about
The feel. Hmm.
the feel. Yeah.
Hmm. So
Um, so yeah, that's really all I have to say about Vanguard. Is I hope that it's alternate history. They need to really lean into that,
mhm.
and not make it confusing. They have to be very clear of like, all right, listen, guys, this is what's going on. Set your expectations. We're gonna get weird. Bear with us,
Exactly.
and then make it very unique.
Yeah, this is the only way that can work. If not, it's going to be quickly forgotten like World War II was.
Yeah.
So, number three, Paul. So, a new report suggests that Rockstar Games, hey, remember them? Is
Yeah, I think I've heard of them.
Yeah, is working on remastering all three of the PS2 and Xbox Grand Theft Auto games. So, Grand Theft Auto 3, Grand Theft Auto Vice City, and Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. The remasters are being done using the Unreal Engine. For context, Rockstar usually uses an engine called Rage engine that they developed, and it's what has been powering their games since GTA 4 going forward. It's why those games have weird physics because they're like baked into the engine.
Yeah.
And the big headliner is that they're aiming for a release on late October, early November on PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Series X and S, and Switch, with a PC and mobile port potentially slipping into 2022. The games are being remastered by one of Rockstar's subsidiaries, Rockstar Dundee, which apparently has been in charge of making content for Red Dead Online, which explains why the cadence of content for that
Oh
mode
my
has been
goodness.
slow. So, and are planned to be sold all in one package, digital only. Digital Master Race. So, the report suggests that Rockstar is also planning a remastering of the original Red Dead Redemption, but whether or not it'll go forward with that depends on the sales for these GTA remasters. This report seems to align with a report from 2020 that after Red Dead Redemption 2 took close to 80 years to be fully done, parent company Take-Two wanted Rockstar to release more games in a quicker time period. Sounds familiar, right? And so releasing remaster seems like a reasonable half step to that. Also, don't forget that the rumor next full GTA, which people are calling GTA 6, is still reportedly being worked on for a 2024 to 2025 release. Paul, and a surprise sort of announcement. This hasn't been confirmed by them, but it came from reputable sources. That it's basically
Yeah.
confirmed. These are the same reputable sources that gave us the Mario collection last year.
Yeah.
So, uh,
I have some things to say about this. The more I've learned about this, part of it just now. So I have a problem with this. I will first acknowledge that I was very skeptical of it and I didn't believe it at all. The fact that you said it was going to come out this year is very strange, which means that they have been working on this for a hot minute. Um, the fact that this is the people that have been working on Red Dead Online, and that means that it wasn't just the Red Dead Online team was small, but that they took that team and then made them work on a remaster to the other game series that they run makes me livid, because that proves that Rockstar has no intention of following through with any of their promises to Red Dead. It is a I don't want to say it's dead because they're going to put some things
they
out.
released out something recently. I remember
They
blood
did.
something. Yeah.
It was, and it's still empty. It is basically to explain they gave you this idea of these they're not really heists, but they're certain robberies that you can do from like the strangers. They now have a new option for two of them. It no longer affects your morality because in the past it used to be, oh, you can only work with certain strangers and it'll affect your morality in a certain direction. Well, people realize, well, if you lock me behind half of your content because of the nature of what it is, then that kind of sucks. And even if they do things like they'll give you these coupons for, oh, reset your morality, it doesn't matter. But then like if you play enough of the thief or the killer side missions, you can no longer play the other ones. You have to either work your way up or you have to pay for one of those coupons to get yourself back into good standing to play the other type of content. So these did away with that. That was a dumb thing in the first place that I'm glad they kind of went away from. But now the fact that you now have to do the same process of pick these missions, they're on a cooldown, do another mission, and like granted, if you do all these missions, by the time you're done with all of them, the first one might be done. Cool. The problem is they give you something called capitale, which is a whole new type of currency that you have to turn in for discounts on other things that you probably already own. And there's no reason to buy them because you either already own it or there's no point in buying these things because they don't do anything for you. There's still no properties that they promise. There's no actual bank heists or robberies. There's all sorts of other things that I'm sure people have already complained about that they still don't have. Same weapons. They might have added like one or two here and there, and there's just they're so focused on the realism of this game that they're not willing to make it a real game out of it, because like you still have these like, all right, you're gonna summon your wagon or whatever, it teleports to you. Why is that okay, but you can't fast travel outside of going to a certain sign and then spending money to go somewhere? And the fact that they're taking this company that is supposed to work on it and they're putting them on GTA now, or they have been putting them on GTA the whole time, just it undercuts any sort of sincerity they had with Red Dead. And yeah, that just
What this tells me is, so while you were talking, I just made the count. So Red Dead Redemption 2 came out in 2018, same as Red Dead Online.
yeah.
We're going for 3 years. It took a year and a half, almost two, for GTA Online to get their heists because they had to get that game in next gen before they could do the heists. Has Red Dead Online really been that big of a disaster? What you're telling me?
Well, the
Like for this
problem
long,
is
like
for GTA, you still had a lot of stuff that you could do over and over again. Yeah, your missions had no real cooldown. You could just go back and you could play them. You could do the races. You could do the survival missions. They just added survival game type in Red Dead Online, like as of a couple of weeks ago, maybe, which was on launch for GTA. You had your clothing was like all there in GTA, and they've only added more. They've hardly added anything, and even then, it was for limited time that they would take away afterwards, and you had to spend gold bars for a lot of it, which isn't even like a thing. GTA, you play the game, you get money, you can use that money on everything in the game. But Rockstar wants you to do that. And then every time they come out with more content, you can only do that content by buying it with gold bars. There is no other way to do it. The only exception was the most recent example with the Capitale, which you did not have to pay for. But all of the rest, the bounty hunter on top of that that extended it was another amount. You had your trader, you had your moonshiner, you had your collector, you had your um the one where you hunted animals. All of that was like 15 to 20 gold bars each. You had to do so many stupid things to get the content that they would give you.
I think you have thoroughly unsold me from ever trying Red Dead Online. Literally. And not don't forget because they have still supported GTA Online. Even till this day, it's going 8 years strong. And on top of that, remember that GTA 5, PS5, Xbox Series X is also coming out this year on top of all this.
And I'll
So
give it to him. GTA Online has so many cool things even now. The auto tuner, not auto tune, the tuner vehicles expansion just recently. I haven't gone back to it, but I want to because they give you more reason to have cool cars, which was one of like the biggest things that I loved in that game. Like they stopped caring about realism a long time ago. Why do we have to focus on realism for Red Dead?
yeah, it's
Like
like
at
maybe
least
they finally realized that just the cowboy setting is just not that big, especially having pursued this realistic take on Red Dead. They finally realized that it doesn't give them enough rope to make the thing that interesting compared to GTA 5, where
I
they
would dare say
basically,
they still could though, because since
but they
it
would have to
takes
break
place
they would have to break the tone also, like because it feels like
in
tonally it's equal.
some ways, I know that there are some ways that we could um help with that because as it is right now, you've already got people with like bright pink manes for their hair, and for their horse's hair. They've got explosive bullets. They've got these the bounty wagons, and they have like there's a mission where you have to fight against a carriage that is an armored vehicle basically with like a Gatling gun in the top of it. And while you don't have access to that for players, it's like they're already pushing the range of
Realism.
what was possible. It's just they don't want to go the step of allowing players access to more options. And then, like you have hundreds of different kinds of weapons that you could put in the game that would be realistic for that time period, and they still won't. More clothing that people could have, so many options for that, and they refuse to do that either.
Yeah,
It's just they just don't have any desire.
yeah, it's makes it clear as like Red Dead has sold like 38 million copies, which is nothing to sneeze at. GTA 5 has sold like 150 million, or it had sold more than the combined sales of the N64, SNES, and NES combined. So it's like, of course, and that thing makes them a butt ton of money. And GTA is always charting as something people still buy. So
It's
I think it explains it. So they're
yeah.
pursuing the money. So from me, like I'm interested in getting the these remasters personally because I never fully played any of these games. I played a little bit of them when they let me borrow them, but I never really fully played them. And I kind of want to see how big the remaster work is, if it's a rush job or if they actually put some time, love, and care. Because obviously they took the team that was supporting Red Dead Online and made them do this, which also means that the main teams at Rockstar North, who did both the main GTA and Red Dead games, they were not taken out to do like this side stuff because they have a bunch of Rockstar teams. So, and I also want this to succeed because I do want a remaster of the first Red Dead because I prefer the first Red Dead over the second one. I prefer the story better. I prefer the feel of that game better, and the only way to fully play that game modernly it's an Xbox backwards compatibility, which
Mm.
works. And if you have an Xbox One X or a Series X, that game got patched for 4K by the Microsoft team. So that game looks like pretty remastered in backwards compatibility mode, but no one on the PlayStation side can play that unless it's on PlayStation Now, if they have not removed it already. So yeah, that's the only thing that I care about this. So I sad to hear about you had being a Red Dead Online player. Then now you know why you've been left hung up to dry.
Yeah.
So
It adds context, but it also gives me a target for my frustration. So
yes, now you know.
I do want to clarify that I am excited about these remasters, and I'm
Mm.
glad more players are going to get that.
It's just
I
that you
do
have that bone
wish
to pick over you Red Dead Online because you
the
do play
thing that
that.
I was the most passionate about had to die for this to happen.
I
So
mean,
that's
wasn't Red Dead Online so left out for so long that people started dressing like clowns in protest in Red Dead
yes.
to actually make Rockstar actually say something about that?
People would dress as clowns. They actually created their whole mode where people would dress as the clowns and then run after people with machetes,
Mm-hmm.
just like they had in reality back
Yeah.
in what was it, 2016 or something.
Yeah.
And that was entertaining.
Speaking of clouds, one time I was playing Warzone with my brother. We were playing. There's this new Alcatraz mod that's actually pretty cool in Warzone if you play Warzone. we were fighting, and then my dad comes up because my I was playing on the TV, and my brother was we were playing crossplay on the computer. My dad comes in, and I was fighting Jigsaw, and he was like, "Why is the clown from the Saw there in Call of Duty?" It was just me, but my dad realizing we're fighting Jigsaw because someone had the Jigsaw costume in
Yeah.
Warzone. Yeah,
They had
clowns,
a few of the horror people show up in
Mike
that.
Myers, and all of that. And so,
And then like Rambo
mm-hmm.
and a few other people, John McClane,
John McClane, because they added the what's the name of the tower from Die Hard? The
Nakatomi Plaza.
Nakatomi. They added Nakatomi Plaza to the map. So I don't know if it's still there, but I remember that was a big thing last year.
Mhm.
So number 4, Paul, something that would also be. Yeah, how can I say
Yeah,
this? It's like this one also hits close to home for you.
it does.
So Cyberpunk 2077, the highly anticipated game for the end of the last generation that then became the new gold standard for unfinished FTUB releases, revealed a stream today. Actually, something broke before we recorded. For August 17, the date this post, where they will talk about some big changes to the game coming with patch 1.3, which will also reportedly include some free DLC along with the patch. So they have been promising the patch, and it's taken so long. You know when was the last time the 1.2 patch happened, Paul?
That's like a good 6 months or something.
February. Yeah. So in February was when they did the 1.2 patch that was what was supposed to try to stabilize this thing, especially in last gen consoles when it was an absolute colossal disaster. That's where I played it and then stopped playing. That base PS4 version was horrendous. Um, Allegedly, the full-on next-gen version of the game is still coming for free sometime later this year, but considering that Cyberpunk has one of the most vague roadmaps in recent memory, you've seen that, right? That yellow thing would be like, coming, 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 something
Yep.
like that, right? Yeah. It's... And considering this 1.2 patch came out in February, and it took them, what, 6 months to do the 1.3 patch? That's also
And
not
it's
including
still
the
not
DLC?
fixed.
And it's still
People
not
have gone
fixed,
back
yeah.
to the game. It's just about as buggy, maybe more stable. Like
Oh,
it
yeah.
has less of a chance of corrupting and maybe a little less crashing, but it's still just as like glitchy all over the place, which some
Why...
would say it adds to the charm, some
Yes,
would
no.
say it's still not worth it. It's
It's insane. It's like that whole Cyberpunk saga is so heartbreaking. Like it really is. It's like I know that was we talked about it, that was your most anticipated game last year,
yeah,
and it delayed
might have
four
even be of
times.
the generation.
Yeah,
It was I was very excited for this.
yeah. It's just like that to me. It's like remember, it's like this is the game that went golden and then got delayed. So
Yeah.
and it was still messed up and had to release on a December of all days. So yeah, let's not also forget that there's a next gen version of The Witcher 3. Which by the way, have you tried The Witcher 3 on PS5?
No.
Don't,
I
don't, don't.
really it's
I
that
had to
bad.
delete it. I had to. I was like, I don't want to play because I had my friend Josh who also played Destiny. He played. Uh, he actually finished because I've never finished The Witcher 3 because I got distracted with other stuff, and he did finish it,
Yeah.
and he was like, I want to. I finished it. You should play. I was like, you know what? You keep talking about this thing. I'll give it. I had it installed, and I started playing. I was like, why is this game running like crap? Why does it look so smudgy? Nope, delete. I was like, I'll wait for the next gen.
Dang.
I know there's apparently the game runs at 60 frames if you're on an Xbox Series console. So if
Hmm.
you don't want to wait for the next gen version, maybe you can start playing there now. But yeah, that's also supposed to come out this year for free if you already own The Witcher. So that's good. And also Cyberpunk next gen update or next gen version is also coming for free. So they're not uh, they're not changing that. So I know now that I have a PS5. I know that you played it on a PS5. It ran fine there. It actually was. I would argue it actually ran great. It had its bugs and all that, but this game has been so muddled in dirt and crap and pig shit, basically, that I just don't feel the desire to play the version that's there, knowing that there's a next gen version coming. Might as well wait. It's like,
Yeah.
oh man,
It's and are you talking just now about the Witcher Three's version or the Cyberpunk version? Okay.
Cyberpunk, yeah.
Because
Both because both next gen versions, and now that I know the PS5 version that I can currently play of The Witcher doesn't run the best, that's not looking the
Yeah.
best. I was like, I might as well wait. I like.
Well, it's fallen back into the problem that you and I have been coming into the with playing old games on the PS5. Um, Despite the clear improvements that it's supposed to have, it feels like it'll stutter. The lighting freaks out on certain games,
Yeah.
and it's not consistent enough for it to be like a direct problem. But
Mm-hmm.
I've noticed with what was it,
Mafia.
Modern Warfare,
Mm-hmm.
Mafia, now Witcher, that like there's something about the way that the lighting was made on some of those
Mm-hmm.
past gen games
Yeah.
that it is not agreeing with the current.
Yeah, I will say that Witcher 3 doesn't have the. This game is not gonna work on PS5 like Mafia did, or even Assassin's
Yeah.
Creed Syndicate. Like Syndicate was like the lighting was bad. It was
Oh
like
yeah, and Syndicate. We didn't
a
even talk
constantly
about that.
flickering myths. And I know Mafia 3 has some problems also, but not quite the lighting. But it
I
kind of
would
like the
say that a
controller.
lot of those games already had that problem
Hmm.
too.
And they just
It's
got
just more
exasperated on the new machine.
pronounced.
So Witcher 3 doesn't have that. It's basically compatible. It's just that the PS4 version doesn't hold up. I don't think that thing ever got a PS4 Pro patch. Or if it did, it was so minimal that I didn't even notice it.
I don't
So,
remember if it did or not. It
yeah.
just, huh. I know like they had to build it up after release.
Hmm.
But
Yeah,
ever since
because
then, it's
PS4
been
Pro
pretty
came
strong.
a year after Witcher
Hmm.
after Witcher 3.
I don't
So,
think I ever played it on the Pro now that I think about it, because
exactly. So,
that game just took so much out of me. I just couldn't go back
mhm.
and try it
If
again.
let me put
It's
it like this, if the game had actually got a PS4 Pro patch, it could have gotten a better frame rate, and I could have felt that because that's what I felt in most games that I've gone back to backwards compatibility with the PS5.
yeah.
And I don't know, it's just like it, maybe I've gotten so used to 60 frames. That game has a weird 30 frames that's not too stable. The movement is garbage. The combat feels weird. It's like might
I
as
think
well.
the combat's always going to feel weird for you
Yes,
though.
but if it runs at a better frame rate whenever it gets the next gen version, maybe that'll make it worth it. So
That's true.
yeah, it's like yeah. I'll for the two CD Projekt games, I'm on wait and see mode for the next gen versions. I can't touch them right now, no matter what.
Fair enough.
Number five, Paul. Here it comes.
I saw that shift in your eye. You're just
Oh
like,
yes,
it's happened.
it's happened.
It's
Okay,
time.
where what did we end the last show on, Paul?
We were talking about the possibility of later that day, the abandoned trailer teaser app, whatever, was going live. And we were curious to see it crash and burn or if it was going to confirm some of our suspicions. Alejandro, what did it do?
Number one, it crashed and burned in spectacular fashion. So context: we finished recording this episode. The app was downloaded. It had 1.99 gigs. So I was like, okay, this is not as correct as the API kind of mentioned back in June that it was going to be like 48 gigs, but it could balloon because I'm gonna say it later. It's so yeah, this trailer that was supposed to release because it was gonna have an opening teaser that was gonna finally give us an idea about what this is. Here's what's funny: before they posted this stupid app on Twitter, Blue Balls Game Studios put a teaser that was like, "Are you ready?" It was like a look at the image was like focused on the floor and had like a guy walking and said "Capture on PS5." So it was like a teaser. Okay. Then the moment finally came for that app was supposed to receive a patch that was finally gonna unlock the app to deliver this trailer. The time comes. No patch. I keep reloading. Be like, is there a patch? There's no patch. Then they start tweeting. We have had a problem delivering the patch. I'm like, how in the world do you even have a problem delivering a patch for a trailer? A fucking trailer. And 3 days happened where nothing happens, and they keep updating on Twitter. It's like, No. The patches, we're still having technical problems with this thing. Just remember, we're 100% real. We are a real team that are very passionate about this game, and this patch is coming. And then people started thinking, it's like, a patch was never even submitted. They never submitted a patch in until it finally happened on Friday. So that's what's funny. Like, nothing happened on Tuesday. That's when the trailer app was supposed to happen, and you just got beheaded. That's funny. That's a funny visual.
I'm taking a nap in the sun while you're doing this.
You're the Squidward meme, right?
Yep.
Yes. So Wednesday comes. Still, they keep tweeting and be like, "No, we're real. We're having problems with the engine. There's some visual problems with the engine." So that's what happened. I'm like, it is a trailer. You said this trailer was going to be in YouTube at the same time. What's going on? Then Thursday happens. Ironically, Thursday was PT Day. August 12th is when PT released 7 years ago. And then on Friday, finally, a patch went live. I was like, okay. Finally. The patch was 5.9 gigs. I was like, okay, weird. But I'll buy it. I have it downloaded. It downloaded. I popped in. Finally has like this menu where it has like a square where it has the teaser and a bunch of other squares and 2 more squares. Then I play the first square. The teaser is literally the same thing they tweeted, point for point, exact amount, 4 seconds, on Tuesday. They had already tweeted that trailer, and they waited this patch to show the exact same trailer in the app, only to then be like, trailer coming soon, playable prologue coming after. After that one, I was like, these guys. Like, this Hassan Karaman, this Blue Balls Game Studios, I don't care anymore. I always kept following this in the hope, again, because of how so many coincidences led to Kojima. So many of them. Almost too many to be like, there's way too many. It has to be something. At this point, they're just fucking scam artists. Like, and then here's the worst part. Remember the thing that was unearthed? Someone like put a timeline of this stupid Blue Box Game Studios timeline of every time that they have teased something at Kickstarter and they deleted nothing they have released. And I'm like, how the hell did Sony get in bed with these guys? Like, how? Like, that's what like blows my mind. Is like, are Sony so fucking incompetent now that they allow themselves to be scammed by these dudes that have extracted so much oxygen, so much freaking oxygen, because Sony doesn't have anything. They are not opening their mouth. They have no games. Because this one was announced as a PS5 exclusive. Now it's absorbing all this energy. And what they have only done is just constantly being the boy who cried wolf, being like, this will be Silent Hill because it's a game that starts with an S and an L. Oh no, never mind. I was like, no. It's not that. It's not us. We're not associated with them. We're not associated with Kojima or Konami. That's their own thing. Trailer app teaser. You can pre-download. Oh yeah, we're putting Big Boss in the. There's someone that looks exactly like the old version of Big Boss behind there. To then be like, we're going to tweet basically the trailer being like, are you ready? And have everyone kind of lose their minds because they're not updating the app for some reason until 3 days later, only to show the exact same teaser and only adding trailer coming soon. That's just disrespectful of everyone's time. And I hope these guys burn to the ground. I hope they find them, they hang them at the stake, they cut their balls, make them all blue and feed them to their mouth, because this is insanity. This is just stupidity. This is like, I cannot believe that they were allowed to do this. and I don't even care anymore. I don't care what this is. There's more there. Like, from now on, this is the last time I'm talking about abandon in this podcast, because it has taken so much from my mind, having gone down this rabbit hole, that for it to just be this and just be like a constant string, you were smart by calling it out, like it was, you are the one that actually won in here for not having gone down that rabbit. Like, I tried to take you to the rabbit hole here, but it was just like, it was just too. There was too much. The strings were too real here, and it doesn't help also that then we have freaking Kojima tweet, oh, I saw this like amusement part about an abandoned thing. Or it's like using the actual words abandoned. It's like, that's been the worst part. Why had not Sony or Konami or even Kojima come be like, we're not part of that? The silence is what's feeding at all this. It's just, man.
I will offer two things. One of them has two parts to it. One is a concession of saying that what you are feeling is what I felt when Cyberpunk was delayed for the last time. You remember we briefly talked through the Messenger app, but you didn't actually get to hear me speak about it in Rant. So that was what I felt, and I was so, I think I said my exact words were, they have burned every amount of goodwill.
Yeah.
And this was like before the release even. So the fact that it came out after the fact and I was trying to justify it and was like, at least it's finished, sort of. I get to play it. I get to do a couple of cool things. But it was a very similar feeling. So you are in good company with your frustrations, because
yes,
you didn't fall down that rabbit hole like I did, and then I didn't fall down this one like you did. But
we're on equal footing now, basically.
Yes. The other thing is that we have two options for what I think is going on. One is that it is confirming everything that you're starting to believe, and that this is a complete scam. These people never actually intended any of this. Actually, so maybe three parts. That's the first one, is that they never intended any of this stuff. The second is that they are an indie studio, and all of this got so far beyond what they could have possibly imagined. And they panicked at the last second, and it was like a game of chicken where they were going to release this stuff, release it, and then they delayed it. And they're like, all right, we're going to figure something out. We ran out of time. Oh no, we're having problems. And then they're saying, all right, just cut everything out and just leave the teaser that we had already. That'll give us a little more time to figure out what else we're doing, because they clearly don't have any idea what's going on. The third is that, say they are aligned with Sony, they are aligned with Kojima, the craziest option there is, but Kojima and Sony did not trust the right people and they goofed up. And whatever it is actually messed up so badly that if Kojima or Sony acknowledges its existence, they acknowledge that they also had a hand in its failure. So they, in their best interest, is to just not believe it exists until they have a better grip on it, where they can claim responsibility but also have the solution to the problem that is whatever it is plaguing them right now.
Yeah. Remember I tweeted you the tweet from Moby Dick Studios?
Yeah, I remember seeing that. They were like, "Oh, what are you talking about? They don't have flaming whales. We do."
Yeah, it's like,
it has the same vibe. Yeah,
exactly. This is why the rabbit hole went this way, because this wouldn't have been nothing had we not seen Kojima pull this exact same thing back in 2012, almost to the letter. Now more and more this feels like someone saw that and is trying to pull that, and doing it in a more and doing it in a more slapdash way that just completely got out of control. Because that's the thing, like, I feel this kind of thing can only work once. Now that I think about it, it's like, once you've done it, now you expect it. That's why everyone now saw so many connections where maybe there weren't. Or again, these people were like, again, the boy who cried wolf is like, I have no sympathy for any of this stuff, especially the whoever is in charge of marketing this thing, or this Hassan Karaman, whoever he is, that for some reason his name translates to Hideo Kojima. I don't even care anymore. It's like I don't understand how that's even possible. Like the connection there, that I have no sympathy for you saying no, this is not it, and you still poking the bear, making it very clear. It's like
Real
I have
quick,
literally no
did
sympathy for them.
the
It's like
Moby Dick Studios tweet, did that come after or before the trailer for E3?
after the trailer from the Game Awards in 2012. Yeah.
That's so here's what I think is going on. My personal tinfoil. I think that watching all of this happen, the people that are behind this studied that reveal immensely and then they copied it.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted people to theorize, but they misunderstood how much the gaming atmosphere has changed at this
Mm-hmm.
point. They they looked at those details of what they had for their resources with the Unreal Engine assets. They had the name and all of that. They had the stuff, but like, see, there's details that are important. Where Moby Dick Studios, they had an actual trailer that showed what it
Mm-hmm.
could be done. It was a playable thing that they showed at E3,
Mm-hmm.
and
Game
then they
Awards. Game
started
Awards.
doing
Game
stuff.
Awards.
Game Awards,
Game
yeah, you're
Awards.
right.
Yeah.
They started doing stuff after people saw the initial reveal of it. This has been out of order
Mm-hmm.
from the beginning.
Yeah. It
And
had a
they
teaser. It had the teaser that from April that was asset flips. That
I
was
wouldn't
basically
yeah,
nothing.
I wouldn't even call that something.
Mm-hmm.
That's you take something from an existing library and then you just paste it in, which I'll give it. It takes a little effort, but it's not the level of what we saw.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't like this is clearly something that exists. It is from the beginning something that was taken with the intention of replacing it later.
And this is the most important part that people forget about this. People hated that rollout. People
Yeah,
hated this whole Moby Dick thing going for months because people already knew. It was like this is just
it
this
was
is
the
just you.
worst kept secret.
Yeah, this is just you being annoying for no reason. Obviously, people at the end didn't care because it eventually finally it was revealed. Oh yeah, this is Metal Gear Solid 5. Okay, I was like, okay, it's there.
Fairly quick as well,
Three
I would
months.
say.
It took 3 months.
Golly, did it really?
Yeah, so this was happened in
Jeez.
April. So April, May, June, July, August. This has been 5 months. So
Yeah.
this is why this is worse. And why like the only way for everyone to make it feel like this was even, I don't even think if this was eventually revealed as a Silent Hill thing would even be worth it anymore, because how you
They've
roll
burned
this
the
out.
goodwill.
Yeah, you have burned the goodwill. You had taken a piss over it. You have added some coal, lit up the flame. Like there's like no way you can even recover the goodwill, especially after that whole trailer thing. The It's like you made people wait 3 days unabashedly just to see the exact same thing that you had already tweeted, and saying you needed to see the thing in the app. Is like that's why like I don't care anymore. I'm gonna only care when all this cycle is done. But a lot of outlets are like, we're done covering Abandoned. They burned our goodwill and time and patience. So
Yeah.
I think I'm doing the same thing. I don't care. And if this hurts Sony because they have literally nothing, and that's the same thing. Sony for literally having nothing. They're literally having 10 million PS5 owners and haven't given them any idea or any or like quell any fears that there's something coming. We're nearing a year since the last PlayStation event, the one that revealed the price. That was in September. We're a month away from having had a full year where they laid the cards out. It's like I gotta give it to Microsoft. It's like despite them having not released anything, at least they have things in the pipeline that they can at least start putting the shits in order.
Yeah.
Sony doesn't even have that, so it's like that's why everyone had put extra emphasis on this Abandoned stuff, because it's something. Sony has nothing like to reveal. Obviously, we're getting Ghost of Tsushima. Yeah, that's an expansion.
Hmm.
That's not a game. Obviously, we're getting that Stranding Director's Cut. That's another version of a game that already came out. That doesn't have the same weight. Like this holier than thou version of Sony that's like too big for their bridges, and that they can. I'm starting to get really sick of it because they feel that they're so bigger than everyone else that they can just remain quiet. And this is why I hope to God the Xbox overtakes them. I'm actually rooting. I have a PS5 and I'm rooting for Xbox now. Because when that happens, then they will finally get off of their high horse and actually start fighting for your time.
Mhm.
Like,
They
because
do need to start taking it seriously.
yeah, because this is basically acting like we're at the top of the mountain. Who cares? We can, because everyone's buying it. Because that's the thing is, ironically, they managed to sell 10 million units now.
They're acting like Nintendo.
Yes, and they need to.
Nintendo can get away with it as much as I hate it.
Mm-hmm.
Sony cannot because they are in direct competition and their competition is alive and well
Mm-hmm.
and absolutely crushing it with what they're going for right
Yes,
now.
exactly.
Because
Just
you know what? The more I think about it, the more I think Sony genuinely believes that they're still in charge because what they value is something different than what Microsoft is currently valuing, which Microsoft is on the Game Pass.
mm-hmm.
That's what they care about, and they have zero competition in that regard, so they're
Mm-hmm.
succeeding immensely. But Sony is only looking at it as, oh, look at all those studios. You don't have any exclusives. Ha ha ha. We put out a couple things. We're good still.
Which, to
But
be
that's
fair, they
not at
did.
all
Yes.
right. But like that's because what they're focusing on, they're still thinking short term.
They
They're
basically
not.
unloaded the gun, and Microsoft had all the bullets ready because now that Sony unloaded their
Yeah.
gun, now Microsoft hadn't. So Sony had the revolver. They came to battle with the revolver. Microsoft came to battle with
An automatic
an
weapon.
automatic weapon right now, and it's
They're
about to
still
unload.
reloading
Yes.
while Sony put out whatever they had.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Sony hasn't even realized yet how screwed up they got unless they have something that we don't know about as
Mm-hmm.
the public. Granted, they're working on things, but hey, that still takes forever. Microsoft is loading up all the cool stuff that they've got in there, just Bethesda by itself with
Yeah,
the stuff they're working on.
Bethesda's carrying
Um,
them in their shoulders right now because they already had things in the pipeline. So
yeah.
it,
I it's going to come to a head at some point unless Sony realizes they're not in as great of a position as they
mhm.
thought they were.
Yeah,
They're going to get batted out upside the
yeah,
head.
I think because kind of like I mentioned, it's funny how 2021 almost feels like a repeat of 2014 in some way,
Yeah.
because that was a holiday they had nothing. They had to delay some stuff, and they also sold 10 million copies there. They
Which
also
for
were carried by
context was the year of like Far Cry 4 and what were some of the
Destiny,
others?
Destiny
Destiny.
1, Call of Duty Advanced Warfare, then the next version of GTA 5. GTA 5 is coming out this year, so let's see. 2014 was the
I don't
next
even
gen
want to think about it.
the next gen
I
version
don't
of
even want
2014. Now it's 2021 next gen. So
to.
it's
Gosh.
Far Cry 4 came out this year. Now Far Cry 6 comes out this year. Halo Master Chief Collection came out in 2014. Now Halo Infinite comes out in 2021. It's like you can't make this up.
Yeah.
A Sledgehammer Call of Duty Advanced Warfare was in 2024, and now it's Sledgehammer Call of Duty in 2021. See, history repeats itself. It's like poetry. It
Oh
rhymes.
my
Thanks,
goodness.
George Lucas. So it's like,
Dang it.
yes. So, but think about it also this way. The There's no Destiny to carry them. They're only aligned with Call of Duty this time, which, who
We'll
cares?
see.
Yeah, especially now that Call of Duty is like beleaguered right now by the cloud that is the Activision Blizzard thing, which we'll see how much that actually affects the general public, because this is something that made it to CNN. So
Yeah.
that made it to
Well,
public
I'm still
consciousness. So.
convinced the direct competition between them and Battlefield is going to also heavily affect Vanguard's sales because
Mhm.
as
But
we've
people are
established,
excited for Battlefield.
2042 was very well received in its announcement and that the server thing, I don't even know how much we touched on that. The
The
portal,
Battlefield
yeah.
3 portal. I think we touched
Um
about it in a previous episode to be able to like
that's like
customize with previous
several
Battlefields.
yeah, several games worth of weapons, vehicles, environments, outfits, the stuff that you're going to be able to do in something like
Let
that.
me put it like this: is like this is a game. This is a Battlefield game where they came out and said no campaign, despite being a $70 game on next gen,
Which
and
had me
somehow
nervous.
but somehow people are excited. I think that says a lot, because I would think because in direct competition, Battlefield 2042 will have less value than Vanguard, because
Because
Vanguard is always
User
campaign
created
multiplayer. Yeah,
content
yes.
is just so powerful. Just look at the Foundry from Halo, and just how powerful that was by itself.
And also think how, like, again, the whole thing, like, when you put something that has modern combat, relatively modern combat, versus a World War II thing, I think more
Again,
people are gonna lean towards the other one. But who knows? The Call of Duty is so huge,
it
and
is.
obviously PlayStation aligned themselves to. In fact, one of this was a 4chan post from like an insider. You should always take those with a grain of
Great.
salt. They have been like saying that the reason why Sony has had no event is because they aligned themselves to Call of Duty, and they had made the promise that whenever they made their next event, that's when Call of Duty was gonna be at and gonna be revealed. And that Call of Duty this year has just been a complete development disaster. It has been in so bad shape that it had literally put every studio on human earth that Activision owned to try to get that thing out the door, because they can't, for some reason, somehow they have not missed a year without Call of Duty since 2005. The,
Yeah.
the series started in 2003. 2004 had an expansion called the United Offensive, but that's an expansion, that's not a game. But from 2005 onwards, a game has come out. There hasn't been a year where there hasn't been a game. And last year's Black Ops Cold War also ran into development problems. That game was being worked by Sledgehammer and Raven
Yeah.
Software, and that was in trouble. So they removed Sledgehammer. They took Treyarch out of Black Ops 4 development. They had to cancel anything else they had planned for Black Ops 4 compared to how long they supported Black Ops 3, because they had to get in to get a multiplayer out for this thing,
Yeah.
because Raven Software already had the campaign done. The campaign was pretty good. It felt complete. It didn't feel buggy and all that. So I feel it's finally starting, the COVID of it all. It's starting to catch up with it. I think that Call of Duty is going to be a mess. Technically, I would be surprised if it's not. And maybe this Battlefield is going to be on much better shape than we think. That's the thing. The only thing we're missing now is that Battlefield launches is going to be a Battlefield 4 situation again.
Yeah.
That would be a mess. But it's having a beta that's coming in
It
September
is.
at the very least. So that quells. So
And they
because Battlefield
already
4 had no
have
beta.
closed doors like alpha going on right
That
now. So
leaked. That there's some leaks
yeah.
there. You can find them. So it's like at least they're showing them. So
Hmm. And hey, I mean that means they have some kind of a confidence in their product,
mm-hmm,
unlike certain things where they had the embargoes and the, oh, you can't play this, or oh, we're going to show you a very
mm-hmm,
curated individual thing and you have to pick exactly what our guy standing next to you is going to say. um I mean, that's what I like whenever they say, all right, listen, break our game, figure it
mm-hmm.
out so we can make this the best we can. It's not going to look the best, but we know that, and you know that. And I think there's a level of respect there whenever the company making it can trust the public with information like that.
Oh yes.
Because they're like, hey, listen, y'all have been through this song and dance long enough.
Mm-hmm.
Just mess the game up and let us do what we can for whenever the release is.
Yeah, I just hope we eventually get to that point where Call of Duty is not just the biggest thing in the world, because I feel that has done a very net negative to Sony in a way. Because since they aligned themselves with Call of Duty, they have not released a single shooter that they've made ever.
Oh yeah, I
Because they
didn't think
align
about that.
because they align themselves with the big third parties. They're like, people already have this. Why should we make ours? So
Right.
I
Because then
just
they'll
hope
be in competition with it.
exactly. So I just hope it changes the dynamics. I think Call of Duty has been too dominant for too long now, and we need a shakeup. And I think Battlefield has been in need of a win against Call of Duty. They have tried so many times. Battlefield 3 was when they finally took the war towards Call of Duty, and it didn't quite pan out because the thing that they were promoting was just on PC. The console versions were not what they were promoting as,
Hmm.
because they were promoting this 60 frames, 64 player combat, but that wasn't possible on
I
PS3 and
vaguely remember
360.
that too.
Yeah, so the Battlefield 4 was the first time that was like, okay, now the consoles will have the PC experience. And
Yeah.
that year was Call of Duty Ghost, which was not a well received Call of Duty.
Mhm.
So they had an opening. And then Battlefield 4 had to launch busted. And and then,
I
yeah,
would still say it didn't last very long being busted because I
a year
played it
after,
pretty
yeah.
much from launch and it was
No, the
pretty strong
launch
overall.
from from November 2013 to September 2014, the game was broken. From September
You
2014
know what?
onwards, it was fixed. But
I remember now because I bought the deluxe edition, which didn't come out until later.
yeah, and see, because you had to wait for all the DLC to come out.
Right.
So that's why, like, then by the time Battlefield 4 was fixed, it was like, yeah, this is fixed, but it doesn't matter anymore. Call of Duty already
Right.
had sold you because you didn't work when you needed to
And then
work
Battlefield 1 came out,
in the year of
which
Infinite. And then that's another one where they almost got there. The thing is that they also released Titanfall 2. They sacrificed Titanfall 2 to try to hit Call of Duty that year, which was Infinite Warfare, another game that was kind of like in shaky ground. And to be
mhm.
fair, that's the one that did the most damage because Call of Duty, despite selling the most, didn't sell. It wasn't as huge a gap this time.
I remember just in the comparison between the reveal trailers.
The
You remember
most
that
out,
whole thing?
yeah,
It
the
was
most
like
upvoted and the most downvoted trailer and all that.
it was such a good trailer for
Yes.
Battlefield 1.
And then, but then another missed opportunity. Black Ops 4 didn't come with a campaign. Battlefield 5 was going to come with a campaign, and Black Ops 4 beat them because Battlefield 5 botched
Yeah.
the reveal. So, will history repeat itself? Who knows? But I'm more excited for Battlefield personally. Like I said, like I'm probably replaying the old Call of Duties because I have fond memories about that one. Those ones. This new one, wait and see, and I have to see how Activision handles this litigation also before I consider giving them my money. I don't
Also
think I'll
true.
give them my money. My brother will, but who cares? He's in his own world. So that's gonna require a lot of editing to bleep a lot of the cursing. But yeah, that's this week's
Yeah.
episode of the X Button. Paul, where can people find you?
As always, Alejandro, everyone can find me at Twitter at Dork of Art, which I have recently posted some art over the last couple of
Mm-hmm.
weeks. At YouTube at Dork of Art, and also Twitch at Angel Sword 21. And where can they find you,
They can find
Alejandro?
me at Twitch at twitch.tv/slash the Slayer Giant. You can see a couple of my test streams that I did to get ready for now when new stuff starts coming out so I can stream. You can find me at Twitter at a_Segovia. You can find me at Instagram at Alejandro Segovia93. And also you can find some of my written work at thecriticalcorner.com, which is what's going to house a bunch of these rankings that I'm going to be doing from all these games that I've been playing. And also don't forget, you can find us always here at YouTube at youtube.com/escape media. You can see all the our 16 episodes now that we recorded in 2021 and the 13 episodes that we recorded in 2020. If you like audio versions of the podcast, you can find them at anchor.fm/escape media. You can find links there to different podcast services, with the exception of Apple Podcasts, but you can get the RSS feed. And that RSS feed, you can put it in Apple Podcasts or any other service that you don't see there, and you can listen to our show. And Paul, it's been a fun birthday podcast recording time with you. And see you next week. And remember, press X.
To play.
See you guys later.
Night, everyone.
Or good day.
Adios.